Wordsworth, Romney, field investigation finding obsolescence. Do you know why you're here, Mr. Wordsworth?
Yes, sir.
I'd ask you to speak up a little, if you will.
Yes, sir, I know why I'm here.
You've been under investigation, Mr. Wordsworth, for the mandatory period of 1 year and 11 months. You're found to be obsolete. The purpose of this hearing is to make a finding in the matter and make a sentence accordingly. Do you understand that?
Yes, I understand that.
Your occupation, Mr. Wordsworth?
A librarian, sir.
A what?
A librarian, sir.
Has this man had counsel?
Yes, sir, he has.
Are you sure he knows his rights?
He's been given orientation, sir.
Mr. Wordsworth, I'm told that you've had Stand back in the light, Mr. Wordsworth. I'm told you've had counsel and been given orientation, Mr. Wordsworth, but I'm still not sure in my own mind that you understand the purpose of this hearing. The field investigators in your sector have classified you as obsolete. This finding carries with it serious implications. Do you understand that, Mr. Wordsworth?
Again, as promised, Academy Award-winning documentary filmmaker Michael Moore. Michael, good evening.
Good evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is Rachel Maddow. Good evening, Rachel.
Good evening, Keith.
There's been a spike in the desire to own guns in Connecticut. Statewide, over 90,000 guns have been authorized for sale. You know how I feel about it.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Good evening, my fellow Americans, my fellow patriots, friends, family. It is Monday, January. I wish it was December. January 13th. You're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join us live here every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time. If we need to go to 12. But we've been doing 2-hour shows. If we have a guest or whatever, yeah, we'll carry it. We'll carry it into the midnight hour. But tonight it is Monday. That can mean only one thing. Tim will be joining us here a little bit with Munitions Monday. We'll be talking about barrel twist. You know, that's a interesting topic, to say the least. Kind of understand it. Need a little bit more explanation, so we've asked Tim to discuss that with us here at the Midnight Patriot. If you'd like to join in the conversation, give us a call at 1-800-580-4870. That's 1-800-580-4870. Our local number is 262-997-0607. That's 262-997-0607. Got a lot of things to cover tonight. Hope you guys had a great weekend. I know that, give you a little status, I know Mike, AVN, our 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock show, you know, Mike's out with the flu. So, you know, spoke to him yesterday. It was brutal. It was brutal. I think I'm starting to come down with a little bit of it. I've been staying indoors, staying away from the rest of you all, as my southern kicks out there. So it's been a very interesting day. Got a lot of things caught up, got some things moved over into the studio over the weekend. We are running off of the new platform in the studio. We're still working. You know, some of you guys probably heard this morning or this afternoon, we were testing the microphones. I know Joe was like, hey, you guys know you're live? It's like, yeah, we know we're live. We don't care. It's our show. We'll do what we want to. But no, we were testing the microphones, realized that we need to purchase another sound card. It never ends. It never ends. After writing a check today for Sound Exchange, you know, another licensing organization here at, you know, that we once again got to pay money to someone else. Everybody else gets paid but us, but it's all right. We thoroughly enjoy bringing you the music that we bring you and everything. And you know, if you want to help out what we're doing here, classic rock, modern, and classic country. If you have CDs laying around that you're not listening to anymore, feel free to send them on. We'd love to use them. We'd get them encoded and get them into the playlist. That's one way that you can help us. Another way, obviously, is you can donate. If you donate $10, we'll take that money. That's 10 songs. We'll use that to buy an album, an MP3 and stuff. So it's amazing. We can't use some of the same services that radio stations use because we're internet, even though we're required to have the same licensing as those guys do. So we got a lot to talk about when we get back from the break. Obviously, it's Munitions Monday. We'll get Tim on, talk about Barrel Twist. We do have some depressing info. Well, it's not depressing. It's we're finding out we're just cattle. We're going to talk about that after we speak with Tim in the next hour. We're going to be talking about, man, I wish I could commit a crime and then have my best friend or someone who has a vested interest in my success be the judge and jury on that. We'll talk about the IRS, talk about Google's ever-reaching power. You need to start ripping some things out of your house. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and podcast. Join us on the web at www.patriotfb.com. You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join me live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m., usually 11. Let's be realistic. 11 p.m., sometimes 12, depending on if we have a great guest and we want to have a conversation that goes into the midnight hour. Usually that's Stone Anthony. He usually carries us over into the midnight hour and stuff. But tonight we have our Monday show, Tim joining us. We're going to be talking about barrel twist, which will be interesting. I've got a lot of questions about that and everything. But before we do that, before we bring Tim on the line, let me take a little bit of house cleaning. This weekend, obviously we on the move with Mac. We couldn't. I do apologize. We could not get him online. We found out that we needed a different type of sound card that we can integrate into. So we're going to be getting that here shortly. We'll get that on and we'll get Mac in and everything. And then today, if you guys heard, we actually had some issues with the getting the microphone, my mic, to actually work with our current configuration. And I was informed by our software vendor that would all actually go away as we purchase this new sound card. Now, what does that mean? The other thing too is, I don't know if you guys heard during the break, we're kind of messing around with the audio. We have a fully automated system once it's up and running with this new investment that we made in the software. So all the sound levels will actually, stay consistent across. So we're really excited. We're moving up. We're learning as we're going. Learned another valuable lesson this weekend, sound exchange. Found out that there was another licensing requirement that we had to have, another entity that we had to pay. This is the entity that actually produces the records that we buy. That's right. It's not only do you have to buy the records or the CDs or the MP3s, but you also have to pay sound exchange, which actually pays not the band, not the record label, but pays the individuals, the union guys who actually produce and make and manufacture. So that was there you go, another check. That sucking sound you hear, yes, that is my bank account dwindling. But it's okay. It's okay. And one of the things you can do, I get calls and emails, what can we do to help? If you've got CDs laying around, digital CDs laying around that you're not using, can't do MP3s unless we download them. So don't send them to us. It's illegal. Don't want them. Don't want them. But if you have CDs that are laying around that you're not using, that you've already ripped or whatever, and you want to donate to us, feel free. Give me a call. Actually, shoot me an email, jeff@themidnightpatriot.com. That's jeff@themidnightpatriot.com. Love to have them. We'll get them in here, and we'll also play them. That's a good thing. So a little housekeeping before we bring Tim on, but it's going to be an exciting show. After Tim, we're going to talk about some very disturbing court rulings today. We're going to be talking about the IRS scandal and that. Obviously, Google. We got some news on Google. I just, once again, government with this public-private alliance that the Agenda 21ers out there have put together, just creeping into our homes ever so much. So, but we won't take up any more of the time talking about that. That's what the second hour's for. But right now, we're here to talk to Tim. Hey, Tim, how are you, man?
Good evening, Mark. I'm sorry. Good evening, Jeff. I'm fine.
It's all right. How are you?
Hey, I had a little brain fart there.
It's all right, man. It's funny. Every once in a while, you'll hear Stone when he's on here. Stone Anthony on Tuesdays will call me Jim, and that's an inside joke. We did the first time Stone was on the show. The whole show he was calling me Jim. And so, I mean, the whole show, and I didn't correct him. I just kind of let it go. And then afterwards, after the show, I correct. So that's our inside joke. So if you're listening and you hear us joking about that, now our listeners will know what we're talking about. But that's we've become, since then, Stone and I have become really good friends. So it's kind of our little inside joke. He'll call me Jim just to kind of throw me off and see if I can catch it. But so we have thawed out here in the Great White North, and
yes, a little bit.
Yeah, I actually was at the range this weekend. We had a new custom AR that we built for for an individual. He came down from Green Bay. We took it out to the range and let him pop a few rounds off. He was his first. It was amazing. It was that day was the first day he's ever fired a firearm. Not only did he have that, but we had a Beretta Bobcat that he purchased. So I had him shooting that, showing him how to shoot it, and then of course we pulled out his new acquisition, the AR-15 that we built for him, and he was shooting that. It was ear to ear. He was grinning from ear to ear. But man, it was a solid sheet of ice out there. But we persevered.
I went wandering around for 3 hours in the snow yesterday myself. Myself and a friend of mine, we attempted to go out and find some long-eared rodents to shoot, but even with the dogs, we didn't find one.
Yeah. No, it was interesting. But I would not. Everybody was like, "You are crazy for driving back there," because it was literally a solid sheet of ice from the entrance all the way to the back, and but like I said, it was this. He drove down from Green Bay. It's his first 2 weapons that he's ever fired, and we had a good time. I have pictures of it and everything. But he was just. I mean, it was neat. It was fun knowing that we've introduced someone to the sport of shooting and that they thoroughly enjoyed it, and they actually found out firsthand why the AR is one of the most popular rifle platforms out there. I think we probably put about 300-400 rounds through it before the hands started getting numb and everything. So we had good times. But he's probably listening tonight because one of the conversations that came up was barrel twist. He wanted to know the barrels that we put in on our custom is the FN hammer forged 1-in-7 twist, and he was wanting to know why that was different than the 1-in-9 twist, which is what you usually see in most of your retail stores. And I told him, I said, gotta listen to the night show. We'll be talking about it firsthand, and so with that, Tim, what is the difference? What is twist rate in a rifle or in a barrel? Anyways, what is it, and what's its purpose?
Well, the purpose is to stabilize the bullet, the projectile. You have to understand that when firearms were first developed 5 centuries ago, the barrels were all smoothbore. They did not have rifling. Rifling didn't come about until the mid-19th century. And then they realized that they had to stabilize the projectile as soon as they came up with conical-shaped projectiles, other than just a round ball. Because if they didn't, I remember reading, I'll admit, I remember reading a long time ago about how it all came about and who developed it and everything, and I don't remember, I'll admit that, but that was the reason why they developed conical projectiles. It progressed from round balls, and they quickly realized that they had to devise a way to stabilize them in flight, otherwise they would just tumble. So initially, twist rates of rifles back in the 19th century the twist was relatively slow. And we're talking like 1 turn and 48 inches. And know what that a 1-in-48 twist means that the bullet rotates on its longitudinal axis 1 complete revolution in 48 inches. That's what that means. Like a 1-in-7 or a 1-in-9 twist barrel imparts a twist to the bullet where it rotates, again, on its longitudinal axis through the center line of the bullet. It completely rotates 1 complete revolution in every 9 inches, which is pretty fast. The 1 in 7, the original, when they first developed the then new, back in the 80s, the SS-109 ammunition for the military, they quickly realized that the original twist rate, or the twist rate that had been used in the AR virtually from its inception, and I went into that in my second book. I happen to have, one of the chapters in my second book is the history of the AR, and I go into that. But basically, the twist rate that had been used in ARs from virtually since its inception to the 80s was a 1 in 12 twist. That was not a fast enough twist to stabilize the new 62 grain bullet of the SS-109 ammunition. So they increased it to 1 in 7.7. And then they found out that that twist rate was too fast for the lighter bullets. But, so that's part of the history of that.
So the military, though, I think their barrels, are 1 in 7, correct? Now?
They're 1 in 7.7.
1 in 7.7, yeah. And you can actually, it was funny because when I was doing the research on the AR and everything, and you can actually, what they call overstabilize the barrel or the bullet, where you can put, I guess, too much spin on it, and then it causes it to tumble. Is that?
No, actually what happens is if it's got and this is particularly true with 22 centerfire cartridges, where a lot of the 22 caliber bullets that are available to reloaders are referred to as varmint bullets. So consequently, they have very thin, lightweight jackets. And what happens is if you shoot one of these thinly jacketed varmint-type bullets in a rifle that has too fast a twist, the bullet will literally come apart. It'll disintegrate in flight.
Okay, I think that's what they're talking about. Is you got to be careful. Like a 1 in 7, you shoot a heavier. It's my understanding, and maybe you can explain this. So with a 1 in 7, does that mean I can shoot a heavier grain bullet, or lighter grain? I get confused.
No, heavier.
Heavier.
And
when we talk,
the faster the twist rate, the faster the rate of twist of the barrel. Generally, the longer, the heavier bullet, it will stabilize. But it's not a 100% hard and fast rule. Okay. I'll give you another example. It also depends on the barrel length, simply because of what your muzzle velocity is. Obviously, the longer the barrel, the greater the muzzle velocity is to a point. Mm-hmm. And a good example of that is the 22 rimfire. It's been determined that the optimal barrel length for 22 rimfire with ammunition that is other than this really hypervelocity stuff that's available now, like 1,500 feet per second plus, the optimal barrel length is 20 inches. And the company that actually originally determined this, now this is especially true for standard grade target ammunition. And the company that determined this was Anschutz. Initially, Anschutz, a lot of their rifles from their target grade rifles that they manufactured in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, they all had 27-inch barrels. I happen to own an Anschutz model 1413 that I used for indoor small bore. And that rifle was made in the 50s. It happens to be even a couple years older than me. But anyway, it has a 27-inch barrel. Well, round about the 80s sometime, they figured out that the longer barrel was really not that good. So Anschutz started making all their barrels at, I think it's 19 5/8 inches, if I'm not mistaken. And then they put on the barrel, on the end of the barrel, to achieve the same sight radius that they used to achieve with the longer barrels. They put what's called a bloop tube on them. And it's nothing more than a hollow tube that's just out there to mount the front sight farther away from the rear sight, so you get the same sight radius that they used to have with the old longer barrels. So anyway, what I was going to say was that Palmer rifles are typically now have 30-inch barrels, and they have a 1 in 13 twist, and it's been determined that this is the optimal setup for the Palmer load, which uses a 155 grain hollow point bow tail bullet, and I believe the bow tail even has like a 9 bow chive. It's fairly long for a 155 grain bullet. It's considerably longer than a 150 grain FMJ typical 30 caliber FMJ bullet. So, getting back to the AR, there are up to 80 grain bullets available now in 22 caliber that are specifically designed to be used in ARs with these really fast twists, like 1 in 7.
Gotcha.
Me personally, I believe that the optimal twist for a general purpose AR is 1 in 9 with a 20-inch barrel. With that barrel length and that twist rate, you can shoot anything from 52 grain bullets up to I know you can shoot the 69 grain match bullets. I'm not quite sure about the 77s or the 75s, but I know you can use 69 grain bullets because I have.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was the thing, is I think the 1 in 9 is typically, the popular over-the-counter ammo that you get is a 55 grain, and that's why everybody tends to gravitate towards the 1 in 9 and everything. So no, I love the 1 in 7 twist. I mean, those FNs are they're hammer forged barrels. Those are the stock barrels that we put on. Those are our stock barrels, and I like them and everything. So, but one of the things is another question that I got over the week, since we were talking about barrel twist. How are barrels manufactured? What are the different ways in which they are manufactured?
Oh, well, that's another chapter in my second book. I wrote another chapter specifically titled How Barrels Are Made. And actually right now, there are 4 different processes used to manufacture rifle barrels, and there is another one, but it's not used that much, not at all as far as I know anymore. It was experimented with back in the late 80s and the early 90s, but it was quickly determined that it wasn't cost effective, and that's the EDM process. and that involves, it's pretty involved. Most of the processes to manufacture a barrel involve the removal of material. Okay. Now the hammer forging process, after the barrel is drilled, and for those out there who don't realize this, that, and I went into all this in my book. Barrels are drilled. First, the hole down the center is drilled with it's a special machine called a gun drill with a special type of drill bit. And then, depending on the process that is going to be employed to rifle the barrel, there are other steps involved. And with hammer forging, hammer forging is the only process in which the barrel is drilled oversize. And then the blank is put on what's referred to as a mandrel. And basically it's then squeezed down onto the mandrel, and the rifling is thereby engraved into the bore. And that's how hammer forging works.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's the thing. And, with the hammer forging, FN is obviously hammer forged. Now, what is the difference now with the hammer forged versus something like what Krieger does or what Obermeyer? They actually do what they call a button pull. How does that, or how does that?
Well,
work?
let me say this. Jack Krieger does have a line of barrels. His Criterion line of barrels are not single point cut rifled. They're buttoned. And the difference is that buttoning process, it's basically just one pass with the button, and the rifling is switched into the bore, where with the single point cut rifled method, each individual groove is cut, and at a rate of about 1/10,000th of an inch at a time. There is another way to make a cut rifled barrel, and that's using a broach. And a broach is it kind of looks like a big round file with big teeth on it, and all the rifling is cut at one time. Here's the thing. The one difference between hammer forging or buttoning a barrel as opposed to a cut rifled barrel, whether it be single point rifled or a broach cut barrel, is that those other processes, the buttoning and the hammer forging, they impart a significant amount of stress to the barrel blank, to the steel. And consequently, you have to use what's referred to as double stress relieved gun quality steel. But even though you do that, the barrel, after the rifling process is done, whether it be buttoning or hammer forging, has to be stress relieved. And that's a process of heating up the blank, the barrel, to a predetermined temperature, and then it's cooled under controlled conditions. If you don't do this, then you're not going to have a good product. Because whether, I know a lot of people don't understand this either, but every time you fire a rifle, or a handgun for that matter, or a shotgun, any kind of firearm, there is a certain amount of stress imparted to the barrel by the bullet and by the very rapid increase in pressure inside the barrel. Well, what stress relieving does is it ensures that the barrel will react to the stress that's imparted to it by the firing the same way every time. If it's not stress relieved, then that's not going to happen. And if you don't use double stress relieved gun quality steel, it's not going to happen either.
Yeah.
See, any machining process imparts a certain amount of stress to the steel or the material, whatever it is that is being machined. It's just that when you cut rifle a barrel, the stress is very little.
Yeah.
So so the stress relieving is not required.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was, that was one of the things too, I think it's critical, when picking out your barrel manufacturers, is to make sure that they're MPI tested, they're pressure tested with magnetic particle inspection after the fact, to make sure that those stresses that you put into any metal, that you're not inducing cracks or fissures or defects in the metal and everything. So that's why I kind of like, I really like the Krieger barrel. My next barrel that I'm getting is definitely going to be a Krieger. But for a stock AR and stuff, I love the FN hammer forged barrels. I mean, I think for the money and for the quality, they're incredible, and they perform really well for us. Never had an issue with them. But I think a lot of that also has to do with the way that they're set up, and there's a lot of tricks, as you know, in mounting a barrel. Yes.
Let me ask you this: at what distances have you shot those so far?
Oh, I've 100 yards. I have not taken it out on the 600-yard range and fire. Yeah, or at 300 yards, but we've let them go at 100 yards. And
see that therein lies the difference, is that while it's like Ernie, the guy I worked for,
mm-hmm.
he was really fond of saying, a button rifle barrel is great for bench rest,
mm-hmm.
because bench rest is only 100 and 200 yards.
Yeah.
And Ed Chillen down in Texas, who I had the opportunity to meet many, many years ago, he built his reputation on making good button rifle barrels.
Mm-hmm.
And his reputation was with a good portion of the bench rest community. But the thing is when you start shooting beyond at 300 yards and beyond, it's entirely different.
Yeah.
And the only way to go.
Yeah.
Is, in my experience, is a cut rifle barrel.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I said my next AR build that my next upper that I'm gonna build for me personally is going to be a Krieger. I'm gonna go with a 20 inch. I think is a 20-inch barrel. If he's got them.
That's what what I suggested to you.
Yep. I'm gonna go. I'm there. It's one of those things like everything else. We just released our new, and I want to talk about that. Tim, we were talking about we just finally got all of our back orders done from all of our custom ARs. Literally, that Garrett, when I took him out this weekend, he was the last customer, and I promised everybody that I would not sell, trade, anything, build another AR until I got all of the custom ARs that we had stockpiled from right after Sandy Hook to this year, so when we went out with Garrett, it was also a momentous occasion for us there. Not only did he get his first AR, but we're back. I'm doing about five ARs a month now, custom. And like I said, the next one that I'm going to be building is going to be mine, my custom AR for me. And I'm going to put a Krieger. I'm definitely, I talked with my buddy, and we're all in agreement. And also with the great advice you gave us, I'm going to get a 20 inch barrel from Krieger, and that's going to be my present to myself and stuff. But of course, I will have my standard 16 inch, and I'll probably have an SBR as well, a short barrel, and that's the nice thing I love about the ARs. I don't have to change. I just pop another, two pins and put another upper on it, right? Even my 300 blackout and stuff. So, but it was critical. That was one of the things is, the twist. The twist rate was always something that, because I've heard many people say, it doesn't matter. The military shoots a 1 in 7. A 55 grain will be just fine. In a 1 in 7 or, heavier, but you don't want to go above 65 and a 1 in 9. And that was always a thing that, you hear a lot of opinions on it, but I'm a science guy. I want to know the science behind it. And I'm glad that you explained. And then the other thing too is the different ways that barrels are actually manufactured is critical. So, but,
well, I will admit that I have shot an AR at 600 yards using 69 grain bullets with and the barrel had a 1 in 9 twist, and I did fairly well. Which brings me to a little point, and that is that when I was down in Florida in the 80s, that was the first thing I was shooting in competition with an AR. And that was back when everybody, if you shot service rifles, you shot an M1A. Yeah. And I got all kinds of, good-natured comments. Oh, you're shooting a mouse gun and all this other kind of stuff. And then I won first place in my class. Yeah. in the state service rifle championship. And then the comments abruptly stopped.
Yeah.
But I was shooting an AR in competition long before most everybody else even thought of it.
Sure.
And as a matter of fact, I have a match AR. And I go into this in my book also, how I came up with my own cartridge, because I developed my own cartridge for the AR. And I was shooting a match AR in competition in the early 90s in 6mm by 223.
Okay. Yep.
And that too also had a 1 in 9 twist. Well, unfortunately, and this is why I said earlier, I think you can use 77 grain bullets in a 223 caliber AR with a 1 in 9 twist, because the longest bullets that the heaviest bullets I could use in my 6x223 were 90 grain bullets, and that barrel has a 1 in 9 twist. See, the problem was I couldn't take advantage of the new 107 grain match king bullets that Sierra came out at 6mm, and I tried them and it didn't work, because that 1 in 9 twist was not fast enough. to stabilize those long bullets. And that was another reason why I ended up developing my own cartridge.
Gotcha. What?
Because I knew that 6mm was the way to go for competition. I knew it. I knew it 20 years ago in 1994.
Gotcha. I was going to say, so what? So obviously, the shooting, it's a sport and everything. So how do you go about? I mean, what was? I'm just kind of curious when you say you developed your own cartridge for this. What was the process? I mean, you're like, this works, but doesn't quite work as well, but I know this works over here and this other type of rifle, so let's kind of marry them together. I mean, I'm intrigued by that process that you go through. I mean, is it pure science? You just look at the numbers and say, hey, I can do this, or was it a lot of it science / this practical experience? I mean, what is the process? How did you go through? How did you go about doing that?
Well, it's, again, that's yet another chapter in my second book entitled Creating Your Own Cartridge, and I went into that, but basically in a nutshell is what I advise is my advice is you have to identify a need more than just, well, I think this is something neat, I'll try it.
Yeah.
Because you have to understand a few things. If you're going to embark down the wildcatting road, and that's what that's called, wildcatting, creating your own cartridge, you're going to quickly encounter a significant amount of financial. You're going to fork out a lot of money.
Oh, yeah. Try building an AR from scratch.
Right.
I know.
First of all, one thing is that if you're going to develop a whole new cartridge, and clearly you want to actually build a rifle to do this, so you're going to have a barrel made. And in order to get a barrel chambered in your creation, you have to have a chambering reamer. And a chambering reamer is not cheap.
Yeah.
The last time I priced one, they're $150. They might even be more now.
Yeah, I know there's a company in Michigan that actually makes the reamers that you can buy.
Climber.
What's that?
Climber.
Yep.
They're called Climber Manufacturing.
Yep.
CLYMER.
So yep.
Yeah.
And they're not cheap.
Right.
I know.
They'll make any, as long as you give them an adequate shop drawing, which I was capable of doing because I have a slightly engineering background. I mean, I don't have a degree in engineering, but I was going to college and I was majoring in mechanical engineering, and I've had engineering drawing classes, so I was capable of doing that. As long as you're capable of giving them an adequate drawing, they can make just about any kind of reamer that you want.
Yeah. Yep.
It's the old given enough time and money, just about anything's possible.
Well, and that's something that a lot of people don't realize in the firearm industry is that, you've got to go with someone that has experience. You can't just go. I learned this lesson, and actually I was chatting with a guy when we decided that we were going to build custom ARs. I got the CAD drawings and everything, and went to a machine shop number one. They failed miserably. Then went to partner with machine shop number one. They failed miserably, and then decided to do it myself. Hired a guy who was a CNC, actually taught CNC programming and everything. Hired him. Paid him an exuberant amount of money on top of the machine. That failed miserably. So then I actually brought in a guy who had expertise actually in firearms, and then he worked in conjunction with our third partnership, and then we finally produced what we call Gen 2, and but that was a year later, and I would say several $100,000 in the hole. So, I mean, I learned you just can't, you have to take you can't take a set of drawings to a tool and die maker, especially a reamer, and say, here, make this for me. You got to go to someone and that costs money. I mean, these guys are not cheap, and they know. Like I said, I think that the one company, you and I both know the same company, and they're pretty much the only one in the States that actually build a quality reamer. I've used their product. I love them, but
yes,
highly recommend. I've used their crowning tools as well to recrown and everything on barrels. So, but I was just wondering, because I know, I woke up. I just wanted to see if you and I were kind of cut from the same cloth, as far as, because I woke up one day and said, you know what, I'm going to make my own AR. And like I said, several $100,000 later, we're finally producing. Yeah, we're finally producing them. But they're ours. I mean, they're
right.
They're
my
unique.
My little venture wasn't that expensive, but I had to have a barrel, and since I wanted to chamber my little brainstorm in an AR, because I realized the potential for the AR had for match shooting, given some upgrades.
Yeah.
And so consequently, because I wanted to do this with an AR, I needed an AR barrel, and that's how I learned all about needing the barrel extension installed properly. A lot of people don't understand that, and obviously you do, because if you're doing that, and also the necessity of the gas port being drilled in the right location.
Yes.
All of this comes into play where the AR is concerned, and then you can't just go and buy, like, I quickly realized that I couldn't just go and buy a 6mm blank.
Yeah.
So that's why I got one from Jack Krieger.
Yeah.
Because he already was manufacturing AR barrels with the barrel extension installed, with the gas port drilled in the correct place. It's all timed correctly and everything.
Yeah. You learn. I mean, I don't want to disparage, part of the process of us building this is that we went through 4 or 5 different barrel manufacturers until we settled in on the for our stock. Like I said, our stock barrels are the FN. For a stock barrel, that's a really nice barrel. Now, if you want to move up and get in the world, obviously, you go with a Krieger, you go with a more so Krieger, because like you said, he's set up to get all that, everything timed and aligned correctly. And like I said, I'm definitely going to be giving a call here soon. I just got to get the funds. So.
And see, here's the other thing. A lot of quote custom barrel makers, they can't manufacture a barrel in literally any twist you want, where Jack Krieger can. I mean, I ended up, after doing a considerable amount of research, and I still don't know. I don't know if it's the optimal twist rate. I mean, it works well for what I did, but I ended up going with a barrel with an 8.2 twist rate.
Gotcha.
How I came up with that, I am not totally remembering, but I do remember that's the twist rate of that barrel, and it's a 28-inch barrel also. Sure.
So you're shooting, that's a 28-inch barrel on an AR platform? No.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh.
Yes. My my match AR that I built up with my own cartridge has a 28-inch 6mm barrel with a 1 8.2 twist.
Wow. Now, did you flute that at all, or what? That thing's got to be. Well, it's a bench weapon, so I'm just thinking.
No, that's a rifle I built for shooting across the course.
Oh, wow. Man, I can't wait.
It's not light.
I can't wait until the weather turns nice so we go out to the range, and because I've got some things that I want to share.
So the whole rifle, I ended up making my own stock for the rifle also, and I made it out of a piece of rosewood.
Gotcha.
Because I wanted a heavy buttstock to offset the weight of the barrel, and it worked.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But it the stock on my AR kind of looks like a. Have you ever seen these Russian RPKs?
Yeah.
With, these stocks that they call them clubfoot stocks.
Yeah. They're the
the rosewood stock on my AR bears a striking resemblance to that.
Gotcha. No, I can see that. I can actually see that. That's I don't want to get too far away from our conversation when we talk about barrels and twist rates and stuff, because I'm sure we can have a whole different, conversation on accoutrements and all of that for any kind of weapon. But before we do run out of time, I had a question. An individual who's a good friend of mine wanted to ask, and I'm not an expert. I actually have 3 flintlocks that I inherited, and these are they're from Italy originally, and so I'm not a black powder person. And they wanted me to ask you about little information, and I don't know if this is out of your expertise as far as black powder goes. Gunpowder, what you recommend, smokeless, all of that, ball versus rod powder versus, is that something that you have some knowledge about? And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but that was one of the questions I had during the week. Someone wanted me to ask you about black powder rifles. And what are your thoughts?
I do know. Okay. Granted, my Uncle Charlie is more of an expert in that particular genre of firearm, but I do know quite a bit. Like, well, what's the question?
Well, I guess I just wanted to talk about the types of powder. What is better? What is because I know there's ball powder, there's rod powder, there's smokeless smoke. Where if I wanted to get into black powder, where would I start? I seen like Cabela's magazine. Now, obviously, you're not going to have if you're just getting into it, you're not going to go out and have an Italian made. Like I said, these fell in them literally they showed up, and someone said, here, I don't want these anymore, and you can have them. Mine are Italy, made in Italy, but they're
probably reproduction.
They are reproduction. Yeah, there's a well-known company. I got to get the name. Yes, they are, but they're just beautiful. When you look at them, I want to shoot them, but I don't want. So
they're probably Pedersoli.
Was it Pedersoli? Yeah, started with a P, right? Yeah, that's them. They're beautiful. They're just
those are rather expensive.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
I don't know if you price them.
Oh, I know.
But if you go to Dixie Gunworks,
mm-hmm.
they have a website. It's a very expensive website, as a matter of fact.
Yep.
Dixie Gunworks has been in the black powder business for quite some time.
Yeah.
And they do sell a lot of Pedersoli replica black powder firearms.
Yeah.
My recommendation would be to just use regular black powder.
Sure.
In them.
Well, like if I'm starting out, you go to Cabela's magazine or whatever, and you'll see was it Thompson Center? Is that
Yes.
that's like a generic? I mean,
Yes.
I guess where do we? I'm still waiting. I got to get with some guys, at the club, and I'm still looking. And like I said, my buddy said he knows a couple people from the club, but I've never, believe it or not, I've never shot a flintlock. I've never shot a black powder, and so I want to, learn how to do it myself. I want to, obviously be safe.
It can be a lot of fun.
Well, that's what I go to the range and see the guys, and I'm like, wow, that's cool, But I want to hook up. But this individual that asked me said basically, I want to get a black powder. Where do I? These fell in my lap, so obviously I've got the cream de creme. But if I'm just starting out in black powder, do you recommend the Thompson? The Tom as a start out black powder? What's a good generic black powder rifle? And for
as far as I haven't, to be perfectly honest with you, I have not kept up on a whole lot of black powder. I mean, there's a lot of. I do know that there's now these inline black powder rifles and they use. I mean, they call them muzzle loaders, but they use basically a 209 shot shell primer for the ignition system, and I, being the purist that I am, I would just say go get either. I mean, you don't have to go to the expense of a Pedersoli. I mean, like I said, they're pretty pricey. I mean, you can get an Uberti. Uberti makes both replica black powder handguns, and I am pretty sure they make a few replica rifles. And just, play with it. That would be my recommendation. But aside from just, stick with black powder, and there is a website, and I believe the address is just Powder Inc. or something like that specializes in black powder.
Okay.
Sales, just the powder, and there's a number of different manufacturers of black powder out there. Not as many as smokeless, but there's several.
Gotcha.
From what I've read, Swiss manufactured black powder is supposed to be some of the best.
Okay.
And the one thing that I do know that my Uncle Charlie told me is that supposedly black powder that's made with willow charcoal is the best. Now, why, I don't know, but that's what he's told me.
Gotcha. So that's okay. That's good to know. See, I'm gonna have to. We've been threatening to get together and stuff. We're definitely, when the weather turns, we're definitely gonna have to get together because I want to shoot these flintlocks at least once to say I did it and everything. But the other thing too is,
do they have flint?
Yeah, they do. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that from what I understand, that's starting to become hard to come by.
Yeah. Nope. They have flint in them. I have, like I said, it was one of these things where an individual came in and said, look, I know that you like guns and you're into the history of them and blah, blah, blah. And they were like, I inherited these. I don't know what to do with them. As far as I'm concerned, they're junk. And literally they were like, you can have them. And that was a score. Well, I didn't, but I'm not the type of guy. I'm not going to take advantage of someone's ignorance because I knew what I had. Because you look at the wood and the I knew what I had. So I ended up trading them a handgun and said, here's a $300. I had a $400 handgun, and I said, I'll give you a handgun for them. That way I don't feel like I, took advantage of you. Because he didn't know what he had, and I really couldn't price him. I didn't know, and And
well, like I said, I do know that Dixie Gunworks has them, and the last time.
Yeah.
The last time I was looking at their site, I think the cheapest Pedersoli firearm they had on their site was like $700.
Yes, and and I have one. That one is one of them. Is this the generic, and then the other one is with the walnut or whatever stock, which was just. I mean, this thing is beautiful. I mean, I like I said, I don't know if I want to shoot it just because it's just a.
Well, all guns are made to be shot.
I know that. And I'm gonna shoot it. Don't get me wrong. I'm just not gonna be, shooting it, putting a lot. I'm not gonna be shooting it a lot. But I do. I'm definitely gonna shoot it one time though.
Generally speaking, if they're, do you know what caliber they are?
They're 50. One's a 40, one's a 50, and the other one's like a 45, 40. I want to say.
45.
45, yeah. Yep.
Well, a good starting load would be about 45 or so grains to double up.
Yeah.
That'd be a good starting load. You'd definitely be safe with that.
Yeah. See, and that's what I want. And then I also have a double barrel. But that's a cap.
That's a percussion?
It's a percussion, yes. Yeah, that was a double barrel that he brought in with it as well. So, yeah, we're going to get out at the range. I can't wait till the weather turns, so we can do this. I've got a lower for you, by the way. I just want to let you know that, and everything. So, but wow, once again, it's been past an hour, my friend. And so how do people reach you, Tim? What's the best way of reaching you?
Well, they can go to my website, 1776men.com. That's my online magazine, and read everything I've written. Oh, by the way, I wanted to say that I will be publishing this week. Generally, I publish my articles on Wednesday, and I publish one article a week, and I'm going to be publishing the second installment of Defensive Handgun 101 this week. And then from 1776 Men, you can go to my home page, which is timsewardllc.com. And I also have a contact page. That's got my my post office box address on it, and you can send me an email at info@timsewardllc.com.
Sure.
I respond to all my emails promptly. And my books are still listed on Amazon, or they're available from me.
Yep.
And I wanted to say that the reason why that they're listed on Amazon is for those who, feel more comfortable purchasing via credit card from a major site, and that's fine. I understand. Or you can send me a money order or personal check, and I am very reputable.
Yep. Well, and that's the thing. You should have a purchase. I'm going to call the guy out. You should have a purchase here from local. Did you get one here in the last couple of days or a week?
No, I have not. I have not been to my post office box.
Okay.
Since last Thursday.
Okay. I'll give him a shout. He's working tonight. He usually he'll listen to the show tomorrow. So that was my buddy. I talked to him. Actually, he picked up a custom AR from us, and I asked him if he actually did pick up your book yet, and he said no. I will. So I just want to make sure that I'll stay on top of him, Tim. You'll get an order from a local guy, and more importantly, he bought a Dillon 650 as well. So we'll get him plugged in and everything. So, man, when the weather turns, I can't wait. Today was one of those days where I was hoping, it'd hit up in the 50s and, maybe the weather's going to turn, but we know that old man winter's not going to let go. Yeah.
This is Wisconsin.
Yeah.
It's not going to.
Yeah.
It's supposed to get cold again. But
Yeah.
I also wanted to add
Sure.
about my website is that I initiated 1776 Men for a few reasons. One, obviously, to market my books and other products that I've mentioned that I want to develop in the future. But I've reached a point in my life where I feel the need to share all the information that I have squirreled away in my head.
Yeah.
And it always, I thoroughly enjoy sharing, information about guns and about reloading and about other topics that I'm familiar with also. I just wanted to put that out there.
No, I appreciate it. I'm glad that you come onto the show and you do share with us. And I've learned so much, and I tell people I play a lot of Bavitla, when I do these shows and stuff. But I will truly say, sometimes I sit back and I just kind of listen. But our conversations, and that's why I thoroughly enjoy having you on the show, especially on Mondays, because I have learned a lot from you, just our conversation. Yes, sir.
Do we still have a couple minutes?
Yeah, we got all the time in the world. That's the nice thing about us.
You had asked me last week about the composition of primers.
Yes.
So I did a little bit more research.
Okay.
And first of all, I will admit I made a slight error, and that one of the main components of primers that are manufactured today is lead styphenate. It's not lead fulminate. I was incorrect about that. I apologize for any confusion. So, having said that, there are also, like I said, there's 13 or so other chemical compounds. And one of them is compound referred to as J7, and I don't know exactly the chemical makeup of that, but another one of the main compounds, and I have it here on a document that I just pulled up on my computer, and it's called potassium dinitrobenzofluoroxane. That's another one. Tetracene and nitrate ester fuel and strontium nitrate. Those are some of the other compounds that are in primers.
Wow. That's amazing. All of those chemicals go in just to make that, just to ignite the powder.
Yes.
Like I said, that was one of the things that fascinates me because, primers have been created, during time they've evolved. But once again, it's just amazing that guys, prior to advanced chemical analysis machines and all that stuff. I mean, these guys with mortar and pistol, and I'm not talking about the pistol that you shoot, but the kind of grind, created this stuff out of true science.
Well,
and it's just amazing.
Well, it's kind of like Alfred Nobel. Now a lot of people are of the misconception that Alfred Nobel was the first man to develop smokeless powder. Well, he wasn't. It was actually a French chemist 2 years earlier that actually developed the first smokeless propellant. But it was, in Nobel's case, it was actually an accident. Just like when he developed dynamite. It was purely by chance, and it was a miracle that he didn't blow himself up when he did that. And so it's like you were saying, a lot of this stuff has just been discovered by by chance, by individuals that were, playing around with different chemical compounds. For a long time, the main ingredient of primers was potassium perchlorate. And that's the reason why the old primers were corrosive, is because that when it burns, it's really corrosive to steel. It causes it to oxidize very quickly. The burning salts that are created with that priming compound, and it doesn't take very much for the corrosion process to begin.
Sure, I can see that. Yep. Potassium with a salt, absolutely. So, yeah, no, I'm like I said, I'm just at awe. It's like I said, with the adventure of me wanting to build. I mean, I can't tell. I think we went through about 200, and this is actually this is actually having a standard Stoner AR kind of blueprint. Starting from there. I mean, it still took us about 200 lowers before we actually got. People just don't realize, how technical these things are. And that's, I can tell you firsthand from first experience.
Well,
amazing.
The AR, and this is another thing that I mentioned in my book, is that in my mind, the AR was one of the last truly original firearms designs to come about.
Yeah.
That and then his last creation, which was the M63 Stoner weapon system that had limited use by the Navy.
Yeah.
But it's like, even last month, Mikhail Kalashnikov passed away, and everybody was saying, "Oh, the inventor of the AK-47." Well, let me tell you something.
Yeah.
Mikhail Kalashnikov didn't really invent anything.
No.
All he did was copy and make a couple of minor improvements to the STG-44 that the Nazis developed.
Yes. And that, a lot of people don't realize. It's funny because I had that same conversation not too long ago where they were like, oh, the AK is the most, and it's like, no, look, there was a piston-driven one. The French actually had a piston-driven rifle for a while. And, it was highly successful. And I'm like, yeah, the AK came from those experiences and modified, where like you're right, the Stoner, I mean, he created that from the ground up, and it is just it's just an incredible. And I agree with you. A lot of people don't realize most of your what we would consider modern firearms grew out of FN, out of Colt and their designs back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, before they had CAD machines and everything. I mean, they're really the 1911. Came about in the Korean War? Was it the Korean or the Philippines? I think it was the Philippine Wars where it originally came out of. But even that design was based on...
Oh, the 1911?
Yeah.
The 1911, Browning's 1911 was an improvement on his model 1905.
Yep.
The model 1905 was the first pistol chambered for the 45 ACP.
Yeah.
But yes, you're absolutely correct, and that during the brief war, during the brief Spanish-American War that we had, and our experiences in the Philippines, at the time, 1898, the issue sidearm to both the U.S. Army and the Marine Corps was the new model Colt in .38.
Yeah.
And so they had such good luck killing Indians for 30 years with a .45 Colt, they decided to go back to a .45 caliber handgun.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yep. I mean, but that was all, like I said, most of those guns, almost most of your guns that you see on the market today, their roots go back. They're just improvements upon designs that were done in the late 1800s, early 1900s. It's just, it's incredible, and that's what I love about them. And knowing that these guys, machine these by hand, these parts were manufactured by hand, and no CNC machines, no AutoCAD. These were done on drafting tables, and and the calculate and the fact that you have so many, especially the 1911, which is so intriguing to me. You got so many moving parts that come together in precision, and it literally is a precise dance of machinery. People don't, most of your gun manufacturers were considered watch manufacturers. A lot of their training came from doing watch manufacturing and stuff. So it's just,
well, my chapter on the history of the AR is in my second book. It's a unique perspective, and I added it for, granted, it's, there's nothing in that particular chapter specifically about reloading that much, but I added it because of the reason that there's been a lot of misinformation put out there about the AR and how it came about. And I knew a gentleman who worked as a gunsmith down in Waukegan at one of the gun shops down there for quite a long time. And he lived in Illinois, just west of Waukegan.
Yep.
And he was the original officer in charge of the original procurement project that the AR was the result of.
Yeah.
And I knew the man, and he told me the whole story. And I'm not going to go into the whole story because I want people to buy my book.
Yeah, no, you got to read. I know exactly who you're talking about, and I know the story. And you're right; it's fascinating. I get all the time guys coming in and they want piston because they say, oh, they're more reliable or this or that. And I'm looking at them going, well, number one, there's only one guy that makes a reliable piston AR, and you can't buy them because they're going to Delta. They're not. You can't buy them on the consumer market. And they're like, oh, but the AK is so much more, and it's like, no, that's bunk too. Let me kind of explain that one to you. It was, like I said, it was funny because we had a gentleman who got his first AR, and he was like, oh, I got to learn how to clean it. And my lead designer, and you know who he is. If I mention his name, we don't talk about him in public. He's one of those guys. But you would know who he was right off the bat. He was like, I don't ever clean my AR. I just oil it, keep it oil. And, a well-designed, well-built AR that you don't have to, that's a misnomer. A lot of people are like, oh, you got to keep them clean and blah. It's like, these things are utility weapons, and they're designed that way. If they're designed right, if they're built right. And, but
it's really a wonderment to me how some of these stories get started. It's kind of like I mentioned my Uncle Charlie. My Uncle Charlie spent 14 months in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah. And
when he was down there, he carried an M14.
Yeah.
And I asked him once if he thought that the M14 was reliable, and he said, I trust that rifle with my life. I did for 14 months.
Yeah.
It's just as reliable as an AK.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's certain things that, after the fact that they realized, and like you said, they got to order your book and they got to read it, because there are some things that they realized after the fact that they could have, improved upon. But I actually had an original 14 in my hands not too long ago, and I'd have no problem shooting it, none whatsoever, and stuff. So I
was speaking of the M14. I was originally asked about, Springfield Armory For anybody out there listening who doesn't own a 308 caliber rifle and they're interested, they're interested in equipping up, so to speak.
Yeah.
Springfield Armory has changed their manufacturing of their rifles. They're originally, according to the original specifications of the M14, the receiver was supposed to be made out of 8640 forged steel.
Yeah.
Well, when Springfield Armory first got into business in about 1974 or so, they were using 8620 forgings, which there isn't really that much difference. Basically, it has to do with the tensile strength. I mean, obviously, the tensile strength of the 8620 is a little bit less than the 8640, but beyond that, it's not that much difference. Sometime in the mid-90s, I want to say about 95 or 96, Springfield Armory started using castings instead of forgings.
Yep.
And now, granted, no firearms company is going to sell a defective product. I mean, that would be suicide.
Yeah.
But the thing is that the castings, and I've learned this, the castings are not going to last as long as forgings. And a lot of their parts now, and I know this for a fact, they are not GI spec. I had a friend who's another member of the range. He bought a brand new Springfield Armory M1A about 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And he and I were shooting at the range, and after the third shot, I mean, this is a brand new rifle. The third shot, it stopped working. Well, we were shooting a match together. Well, fortunately, he had a backup because I told him to bring a backup rifle. But come to find out is that one of the ears on the hammer broke.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that should not happen. Now, Springfield Armory, they repaired it. No questions asked, no charge.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, after only 3 rounds and the ear on the hammer breaks, obviously it's because the parts are not mil spec. So the reason why I put this out there is because people should be aware of these things.
Well, one of the things, it's really funny. I mean, I'm glad you brought, and like I said, we got all the time in the world. It is Munitions Monday, so we can talk about guns all we want to. One of the things I realized too, though, mil spec is the lower end of the spectrum. I the part of this education of Jeff in this whole process is that mil spec is a low standard. It's the lowest standard that you can go, and then you can actually go higher than that. And
nowadays, that's the case.
Yes.
But when the M1 Garand, and you see, the M14 is nothing more than an upgrade of the M1 Garand, and so a lot of the parts, the trigger group, a lot of the trigger parts are interchangeable between the 2 rifles.
Yes.
And so the specifications for those parts were carried over from the M1 Garand. And when the M1 Garand was originally designed in 1935, mil spec was like, that was supposed to be bulletproof.
Yeah. Yeah. It's still, if you build a mil spec rifle with mil spec parts and stuff, you've got a pretty reliable, but it's funny because when I educate people now, I got educated, it's mil spec. Well, that's the lower end. You can actually go higher. There is higher quality still. There's higher, they call it mil spec, but that's a misnomer. And that just means that it has to meet these requirements. And it's more to the point, like you said, for interchangeability. I should be able to take one mil-spec weapon and swap parts out for it with another one. And I shouldn't have any issue with it. And that's, that's the main thing. But, I see mil-spec, we talk about it, especially, I'm seeing a lot of stuff coming from China. And it's mil-spec, and it's like I would never put that in my. I would never go to combat with that thing, and so we're, like I said, I've learned the education of Jeff over the last year, and talking with guys like yourself and stuff has just been phenomenal. I realized that what I thought I knew nothing. Like I said, you spend about 30,000 hours literally, and you spend the money that we spent just on the AR on building, and that's no joke. I mean, we literally spent, we threw away well over 200 forgings, but billets, not forgings, but billets, because for whatever reason, tolerances weren't there. They weren't it's just amazing. I can tell you pretty much dimensionally I know the numbers by heart because
I have another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Have you decided whether you want a stainless or a chrome moly barrel?
Oh, I'd take a stainless.
And why do you want a stainless barrel?
All right. So all right. So I'll take a chrome moly barrel if I know the manufacturer, I know the process. Because one of the things that, obviously with a chrome moly barrel, that's put on top of the metal, correct? I mean, that's dipped.
No.
It's not. No. So it comes out that way from scratch?
A chrome, that's like a chrome moly is a contraction. It's actually a grade of steel. It's chrome molybdenum steel. And that's two of the ingredients in the steel alloy.
Okay.
Now, a lot of people think, well, chrome, isn't chrome an ingredient of stainless? Yes, it is.
Yep.
But the difference is the amount. And this is one thing I've learned. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, granted, I will admit that a number of the barrels that I have, that I've purchased as aftermarket barrels, both from Boots and from Krieger, are stainless barrels.
Mm-hmm.
They're usually 304 stainless gun quality steel.
Yeah.
Double stress relief gun quality steel.
Yep.
The chrome moly, the molybdenum, that's the same ingredient of molybdenum disulfide, which is used for coating bullets in the moly coating process.
Okay.
And it's a lubricant. The main difference between a chrome moly barrel and a stainless barrel is that when the accuracy starts to go,
mm-hmm.
in a chrome moly barrel, it'll go gradually. With a stainless barrel, it's as if somebody opened a door. It'll be literally. Boots has told me he's actually seen it happen during a string, where the accuracy will just go down the toilet,
yeah,
almost instantaneously within a half a dozen shots.
Gotcha.
And that's the difference.
Oh, really?
Main difference.
I also thought it was heat dissipation as well. I thought the stainless, you have better heat dissipation on the barrel.
I don't know. I think it more has to do with the shape and everything.
Gotcha.
Whether or not it's fluted.
Fluted or not, yeah. Yeah. So that was, and what is it? The like your DPMS, bro. This is a lesson I learned very quick. One of the things is that you get like other barrier. This is my lesson. This is the lesson of Jeff. They will do the chrome lined barrels. and that's a process where they do it after the fact.
Yes, it's flash chrome plated. Yes.
Exactly, and if the tolerances aren't perfect to begin with, you're putting that, you're chroming that, and you're adding more to it, and then, I'm finding out that those aren't, that like I said, the education of Jeff through this whole process. So that's why you either go with a stainless or a chromoly barrel, or you go with a manufacturer that has a quality control process. That's there's nothing wrong with obviously chrome line barrels. It's just that you've got to make sure that the process is such that because you are adding thickness back, you are changing dimensionally the bore. And
well, unfortunately, it seems like I happen to have an AR in 223 that's got a chrome line barrel, and I've got about 1,200 rounds through that particular barrel. And you can see where the chrome plating has already started to deteriorate right in front of the chamber.
Yep.
So I don't know if it was like you said a poor chrome job, or if that's just something that always happens with a chrome line barrel.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah.
But I do know.
Well,
it's visible. You can see it.
Yeah, I mean, you could shoot any barrel out, obviously, but 1,200 rounds, though, that's pretty. I mean, that's when you're starting to see wear like that within 1,200 rounds. That's. Well,
the rifling is still good.
Yeah.
It's just that you can see the chrome plating deteriorating. Gotcha. Yeah, I've shot out several barrels. As a matter of fact, I'm on my third barrel on my M1A.
Yeah, I've got a 700 that I'm replacing a barrel with right now, for a friend of mine. And yeah, you shoot them out. I've got my handgun. It was funny. I've got to move. My favorite handgun that I carry is I have a 990 LE. I love it. I've had it. 87 is when that gun was done. I love it. And it's hard to get barrels, so it's a striker fire handgun, so I have to move up. I'm not a big fan of Glock because, but I can get a back tang, so my hand, because I got meaty hands, and I actually, the only scar that I have on my thumb is where I got clipped by my dad's Glock. I bought it for him for a birthday present, and I went out and and I clipped my hand, and got a nasty scar from it. So I've never been a fan of Glocks. But I know now.
DAA witness.
Well, I have a witness, and I love it. I like it. Yep, I have a witness. I have a lot of different, but I really like my 990 LE. Out of all the guns that I have, it's the one that I had the longest. I just like it. I like the feel of it. It's the old Walther frame with the with the upper. That was that collaboration that they did. When the 40 first came out. So, but man, we can sit here and talk about it. I got to take care of some other news, my friend Tim. We're gonna have to get together. Okay. The weather. I'm waiting for the weather to turn so we can get out there to the range and everything. So, and FYI, at the banquet, one of our ARs is going to be raffled away. I just want to let you know. Have you been out to PatriotFB.com?
Yes, I have. I go there regularly.
You'll see if you go to my pictures under Jeff Norton, you will see I actually posted a bunch of custom work that we did over the weekend. Those are our ARs. That's it. That's the one that we build. So
I will have to check it out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it seems like for me, it depends on what time of day it is.
Yeah.
Now, I haven't had this problem with Patriot FB, but with regular Facebook,
Yeah.
I mean, I was on there about 5 o'clock this evening,
Yeah.
and I wasn't even on there 2 minutes, and the whole thing shut down.
Yep.
My screen whited out,
Yep.
and I was like, God, everybody and his brother must be on there. So I think that I can't be the only one that's experiencing
No.
this. So
What it is. Yep, I can tell you.
I think what it is Facebook's server must be overloaded.
Well, no. Well, it is. I mean, they get tremendously more hits than we do, obviously. But we had 1.4 million hits, though, last month on PatriotFB.com. The difference is that they are heavy JavaScript, which JavaScript is actually placed on your local browser and runs, and that eats up a ton of memory on your local computer. So if you have an older computer and everything, and you're running Firefox, or, try doing, I'm not a big fan of Chrome. And if you listen to the show a little bit later, you're going to hear why here in a little bit. I'm not a fan of Google, but
I uninstalled it from my computer.
Yeah. I
had it.
Yep. Hello? Oh, I think we lost.
Yes.
Oh, okay, there you are. No, and that was the thing, is when we did Patriot FB, we looked at the base package that we got, and then I had friends who are experts in web. I mean, these literally guys are experts in this industry, and they went and they optimized a lot of the JavaScript and made it a little bit more lenient. But yeah, like I said, we have I think well over last month we had 1.4 million hits, just over 1 million page views, and it's still chugging along. I mean, we're not having issues at all with it. I mean, as far as reliability and speed and stuff, everybody loves it. So, I mean, we built it. Yeah, we built it so we can have about 10,000 users online at the same time. And then if need be, it's just a matter of adding more servers. But we're really happy with it. I mean,
I understand how that works.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're running what they call a seed. That's the issue that I'm working through right now, is because we are on a CDN, a content delivery network. We're actually on 3. The problem is our certificate, trying to get those in sync. And it's one of those questions, if you got enough money, you can get it working. It just, but it's because what happens is, if you look at some of the content will be coming from Washington State. Some of the content will be coming actually from Chicago. And it's kind of that's what the CDN does, is it kind of brings in all of the different elements from all of the different servers throughout the United States. So the certificate is valid and it works, but the problem is when it comes in from these other servers, sometimes it will, we see it in Firefox more than anything else. Chrome and Internet Explorer, they don't have an issue with it, but Firefox every once in a while will give you a warning about the content.
The only thing I use Firefox for is email.
Yeah.
So, and usually when I go, whether it's Patriot FB or regular Facebook, I'll close all other windows.
Yeah.
And I still have the problem with regular Facebook.
Yeah. Well, that's because it's heavy in JavaScript. Yeah. I know exactly why that is. And, I started to use Chrome, but I stopped using them when I found out that I kind of suspected this, but they're basically aggregating every search, everywhere you go, everything you do, and then they're selling that to marketing companies, and they've got it.
Data mining.
Well, not only it's really crazy, and we're going to actually talk about this in a minute. They just bought out another company, and they're going to be in your home. I mean, they're already in your home through your browser, but they're actually going to be in your home monitoring your utilities. And it's just stay tuned. That's why I want I love talking and everything, especially these types of conversations, but I got to get to this news so I can kind of bring everybody up to speed what we did. So once again, Tim, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. You're probably going to get some likes on your Facebook page, my friend, because I just sent out about 1,000 invites while we were sitting here. I just want to let you know that.
Okay.
I just invited about 1,000 people to like your page, so we'll get that going. And hey, let me know if you don't get a sale from this area, and then I'm gonna give him a call tomorrow morning. And actually, he'll probably call me because he listens to the show at night while he's working in Chicago, so he knows he knows who he is. I told him he needs to get out and get your books. So I appreciate it, Tim. You have a great day, my friend. And we will be in touch. We will definitely definitely be in touch, my friend. All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
Always. It's always a pleasure, and until next Monday.
Until next Monday. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Wow, Tim, it's awesome to be able, and I'm serious. I've been, we don't talk about this, and I think this is probably a good time, and there was a reason why I talked about this. Look, I made some mistakes. I made mistakes in the past. I'm not perfect. I took over a business, so you guys know. And I didn't talk about it on the air, not because we're holding anything back. The reason being is I made promises to customers and friends, and actually friends, that and let me kind of give you some backstory. I actually, obviously came from the technology business. Wanting to expand my horizons and my abilities and everything like that, I actually got into the gun manufacturing business because I love guns. I love the, how do you say? And it's not because of all of the shows and stuff. I love learning the history and how things work, and the fact that men, not necessarily American, but men put these things together using, drawings and doing slide rule calculations and stuff, not AutoCAD, not CNC, none of that stuff. So I actually started a manufacturer. Now, I made some mistakes, I did. I made a lot of mistakes. I listened to some of the mistakes. I listened to other people who did not have a vested interest. In other words, they didn't have skin in the game. Had a lot of knowledge, but didn't have any skin in the game. And then again, some of my friends who did have skin in the game, I didn't listen to them. And so, we made a lot of mistakes. And one of the things that happened was after Sandy Hook, we knew that we were going to manufacture firearms. We knew that we were in the process of designing and building and doing all, building our own CNC, our own drawings and everything. Well, Sandy Hook happened. Well, because of that, based upon the promises that were made to me and the commitments that other people made to me, machinists, and the fact that we went out and bought the machine. And not only did we buy the machine, we actually bought the guy who trained people on how to use the machine. And everything. So I, made a huge investment. We actually paid more to this guy than we did for the actual machine, and had him come in, and he, 4 months later, still didn't have a viable part, and it was always this or that with him, and, but of course we paid him, and so we ran into some issues. Well, then we actually had to move to a manufacturing facility because where we were at was zoned B1. Well, when we moved to our manufacturing facility, to give you guys a nutshell, when we moved to our manufacturing facility, obviously we have federal firearms licenses that had to move. Well, come to find out, the building that we moved into was not compliant. So because it wasn't compliant, your firearms license is not to the business, it's actually to the address. When you get a federal firearms license, obviously we all have to be background checked, but you can only do business at that address. You can't, it doesn't travel with the business. So if you move addresses, you have to get a new license. And because we moved in, we had to make sure that we were zoning. So where we moved, believe it or not, the city that we moved into gave us issues, made us jump through a lot of hoops that no other business in the building had to jump through. And they were doing a lot, there was actually other gunsmiths and another gun dealer, and they never had to go through this. But because we, build firearms, they made us, and it actually got to the point where the mayor apologized to me during the 4th of July parade. He actually stepped out of the parade as he was walking and apologized to me because of the issues that we had. So that held us up for 3 months. And so obviously we had a lot of issues. We had a lot of orders to fill. Well, I made a promise to all of the customers at the time that I wasn't going to sell, or I wasn't going to advertise, or I wasn't going to even make my own AR until we got everybody caught up. And, and we did. As of last week, we got everybody caught up. We got all of the orders out. These are orders that were done, that were taken. The last order was June of this year. So we got all of those individuals, everybody caught up. So now, we learned, and we're in the process of, I don't want to say starting over, but because of that experience, I learned real quick who my friends were. And I learned real quick, the guys that stood by me, that helped me. There was a lot of guys that put in I'm talking, we put in over 30,000 hours easily, without pay, without any kind, including me, and everything that Sandy and I had went into this business, and we're fine. And so I wanted to put that out there. So yeah, obviously there are some upset people because they didn't get their gun or their firearm. They could have bought it at Gander or whatever place, after Sandy Hook a lot, but they don't realize these are custom. And custom firearms, for a lot of you guys that don't know, that don't buy custom firearms, a custom firearm, if you call Les Bear and you wanted a custom AR, well, now you can get them pretty quickly. Most of the industry's caught up, but back in the, a couple months ago, they would tell you easily a year. You call Smith & Wesson, who's been doing this business for almost 100 years, you call them and wanted an AR, they would tell you, call back in 2 years. Rock River, call back in 2 years. They were that backed up. Obviously now everybody's getting caught up, and now you can buy an AR for $600-700. Not the same quality. It's night and day. And everything. But I just wanted to let you guys know, there's some things that were out of our control, literally, that I had no control in it whatsoever. There were some things that were in my control. I just made bad decisions. But that's life, but I can tell you this. We made everybody that owns one of our ARs loves our ARs. They are just incredible, especially for the price that they paid. Our ARs easily are $1,600 to $1,700. Easily. We sold them for $1,100. And we didn't jack the price up. We put high grade parts. Go out there. Look at the, we put it out there at Patriot FB. Those ARs are custom, obviously, high end custom. Those are a little bit, but our standard, the one that we show there in the picture, retail on it's $1,349. That's the one that we without the optics. That is easily a $1,700 AR, and everything. So I just want, a lot of you guys were asking. I just want to make sure that you understand. No one claims to be perfect. We don't claim. I made a lot of mistakes, and but we made it right. And that's what it's all about. We criticize the President of the United States all the time on this show. The problem is with him is that he's not making anything right. This administration, this government is not making things right. They're not saying, look, we made a mistake. They're pushing on. And the reason why they're pushing on is unlike us. We had a conscience. You got to go to bed at night feeling good about yourself and what you do. I think this president, this administration, they can care less. I mean, they actually feel good about what they're doing, not for the same reasons that we do. They feel good about what they're doing because what they're doing is exactly what they were put in power to do, and that's take over this country and to knock it down. And that's how they're able to sleep well with themselves at night and everything. So, I just wanted to kind of get that out there and everything. And like I said, I don't claim to be perfect. I made a ton of mistakes. And if I could change things, I would. The only thing I can tell you is everybody, we have gone well over and above. And even the attorneys, my attorneys against their advice are like, why are you doing this? Why are you giving these people? Because we went well over and above what we should have. Most companies would have said, here's your money back. Yeah, hit the road. Hit the road. We didn't do that. No, we not only built the quality, we actually upgraded everybody. We moved them into, like I said, $1,100 rifles, what they paid for. They got a $1,700 rifle, every one of our customers. And, and on top of that, they got other things, so that's, lesson learned. And we grow from it. And believe it or not, that's one thing that I learned when I carried into this venture and this business is that, those lessons that I learned from that, I carried over into this, about under promising, over delivering. And that's something that I will tell you that I've truly learned. Being able to make expectation meets reality. The other thing too is, believe it or not, I learned this. I don't trust any, I have to see it, touch it, feel it, smell it, taste it kind of thing. That's why I've spent so much time and energy learning how all of this stuff works. I didn't come from a broadcasting industry, obviously. And like I said, I speak from experience. I find it amazing as a business owner that I have to work within a set confinement where this administration, this government, they just do whatever the heck they want to do, and that's frustrating to me. The laws that I have to follow and the things that I have to do, they don't even care about. They don't even care about. But what a great conversation. You're going to be hearing more. Like I said, get out to patriotfb.com. Take a look. Go to Jeff Norton. You'll see some of our custom rifles. One of the ways, if you're looking for an AR or whatever, one of the ways you can support our effort and everything is take a look at them. If you know of a friend or whatever, the way that we do things, this is a lesson that we learned. We don't do pre-orders. What we do is we'll manufacture anywhere from 5 to 10 rifles a month. And when we have them, I will post them on patriotfb.com. And when they're sold, they're sold. And then we'll do another 5 or 10. We don't do pre-orders. We don't take, we did that before, and that's where we got into a lot of issues. We don't do that anymore. So if and the other thing too is we don't sell retail. And when I say we don't sell retails, you got to come to us. We don't have a retail store that you come into and everything. And anybody that gets orders of firearm or a rifle from us actually gets my direct phone number, my personal phone number. So you can reach us. We don't have a retail, so I'm not getting phone calls from someone who's trying to shop us or whatever. We're not wasting our time talking to, I'm thinking about getting an AR and Gander's got it on sale for $600. We don't do that. Our prices are set prices. And if you want one of our ARs, you're going to pay the money for it. If you don't, then go somewhere else. I don't care. Our business model is based on 5 to 10 ARs a month. And, that works well. It gives me the time to do this as well, and everything. But what a great conversation. I just want to tell everybody thank you for hanging in there and everything with Tim. Great show. I learned a lot tonight. I don't know about you guys, but we're going to take a break here in a little bit. When we get back from the break, obviously I do have some news items we're probably going to go over. It's already 11 o'clock, but I want to cover this news. I want to talk about Google. I definitely want to talk about the IRS investigation and where that went. There's also a very troubling case today that I want to discuss. And we all should be troubled as Americans. The fact that we are now, it's obvious. And I talked about this the other day. I have a lot of law enforcement friends. I have a lot of law enforcement people that listen to the show. And I'm going to say the standard scapegoat. Well, we all know that a lot of you law enforcement are good guys. Well, I'm going to start getting away from that. And I'm sorry if I'm going to upset you, but the reality of it is it's like the Muslim community. It's your community who are starting to evade and diminish people's rights. And you need to start standing up within your own union and within your own industry, law enforcement industry, and saying no more. I don't want to be a part of this. I didn't sign up. I didn't go to, become a law enforcement official so that I can be in an industry that has a black eye and tarnished eye. And when we get back from the break, we'll talk about this. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join us live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time, or on the web 24/7 at www.patriotfb.com. That's www.patriotfb.com. Also, I want to let you guys know we got a lot of great shows that go on during the week. When we're not doing a show, get out there, listen to our music channel, classic rock, classic country, and modern country. No pull your pants up music here at the Patriot FB. We'll be back in a minute.
After Daniel Pearl was kidnapped and murdered in Pakistan, his family and friends came together to work towards a more humane world.
A foundation was formed in Daniel's name to promote cross-cultural understanding through journalism, music, and innovative communications.
On Daniel Pearl Music Day, thousands of people around the world will unite to promote harmony for humanity.
carrying on his mission of connecting people through words and music.
Join us in using the universal language of music to diminish hatred.
Respect differences
and reach out in friendship.
We invite you to perform, support, or attend a Daniel Pearl Music Day event in October.
Participate in Daniel Pearl Music Day, promoting
America. Welcome home the brave. The brave men and women who serve their country are coming home. Home to their cities and towns. Home to their mountains and valleys. Home to their families and friends. Home to America. Some of these warriors are coming home with wounds you can see, and some with wounds you can't see, like post-traumatic stress disorder. Wounded Warrior Project was created to provide the support these wounded veterans need to ensure their return to America is well-adjusted and successful. But we need your help to ensure that our mission is a success. Help us honor and empower these wounded warriors. Contact us at findwwp.org. America, welcome home the brave.
What is that?
Oh, that? It's my time machine.
Does it work?
Sure, just hit this button.
Whoa, dinosaurs. Cool.
Or we can go here.
Hey, that's Napoleon.
Oui.
Or we can go to the future.
Wow, hey, you have this nice house. Do I have a nice house?
No, you didn't save any money. Always spent it on vacations and stuff.
If only there was a way I could go back in time and correct that bad habit.
Yep.
Okay, the time machine is not real, but the saving thing is. Get in the habit of putting some of your money in savings each week through a 401k, savings account, or financial investments. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy tips on saving, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
What does this crazy little button do?
Wait, no!
This message brought to you by the American...
Out of control spending. A government that no longer works for the people. Had enough? Then vote for Stone Anthony for president. Replace politicians with a citizen statesman. www.stoneanthony2016.com.
In a moment, cancer changed our lives forever.
At this moment, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is saving lives with pioneering research and care.
And will never have to pay St. Jude for anything, ever.
At this moment, she wants to be in her own bed.
I want to be back at school with my friends. I want to be outside playing.
Please take a moment and visit.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot Radio Show and Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join me live here every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time or on the web at patriotfb.com. That's patriotfb.com. I highly recommend that you get out there, listen to some of our other shows, listen to the music. We have live country, modern, classic rock, all sorts of different types of music. I was listening to it today, and I have to say, it was pretty cool. I just had it playing in the background as I was doing things, and I really like our playlist and everything. Well, it's kind of like because I'm the guy who put it together. But no, I'm getting a lot of great feedback from it. So, get out there, take a listen to it. It's free. We're not charging, and we're not putting in a bunch of crappy ads. Obviously we have to do some ads. We had to put some ads in there, but it's not too crazy, not too insane and everything. So, talk about crazy and insane. I want to talk to, this goes to the point that I was reaching last week. We are now considered cattle. I'm firmly, and just in case you don't think I'm clear on this, firmly in the belief that we are nothing but cattle to this government, to law enforcement. We have gotten to the point in this society, and we already know there's a report that was done at the first of the year, at the beginning of the first of the year, talking about how Americans we don't trust each other at record lows. Think about it. We don't trust our neighbors. I can tell you, I don't trust my neighbors. I really don't. That's why I don't really associate with them. I don't do it. And that's sad. That's sad, but that's the fact of the matter. I mean, it's just one of these things where we don't. And now we're getting to the point where we're seeing it more and more. Every once in a while, and a lot of people would say, well, we're seeing it because there's, people have video cameras, and that's true. That is true. I will give you that. The alternative media, pretty much everybody's got, if you got a cell phone, you got a video camera. But we're starting to see more and more of the fact of not only are we seeing less and less prosecution of law enforcement for their criminal activities, we're seeing more and more instances of it every day. It used to be maybe once a week you would hear about a story, maybe once a month, and it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that. You go to YouTube today, put in police brutality every day, and you're seeing a lot of it being captured on police dash cams. So there, you can't use the argument, or you're seeing it done in jail cells. You can't use the argument that is because there's more people out there with video cameras, videotaping these police. I mean, dash cams been around for at least 10 years, 15 years. Obviously closed circuit surveillance has been around for a lot longer. We're seeing more and more of it every day. And that's why I'm starting to say, and I know a lot of people will do the politically correct thing. You know how they say, I'm not a racist because I got black friends. You hear that? I'm just going to say it. You're not going to get political correctness here, the Midnight Patriot. If you want political correctness, go somewhere else. We're going to speak our mind. But you know how people would say that. And, you hear it all the time. You even hear when we talk about law enforcement. Well, I know most law enforcement aren't like this. We always start the conversation that way. And I'm telling you, I'm starting to taper away from that. And let me tell you why. Because as I see more and more police brutality, I'm seeing a lot more complacency amongst the rank and file of law enforcement. They'll get up there and say what they want to say. But I'm seeing more and more. If I worked for a company, let's just use this as an example. Say I worked for XYZ company, and they were polluting the water, right? And I realized, well, let's back up. I'm going to use a personal example. I'm not going to use hypothetical. This is real life stuff. Worked for XYZ company who had a defense contract. Did contract work for Homeland Security and DOD. They came and asked us to write software that would look at people's medical records. And the explanation of that is that they wanted to be able to help doctors, assist doctors. It sounded noble on the front, right? I want to help assist doctors in determining if someone was exposed to anthrax or whatever, or biological, blah, 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 blah. But then you find out, and it sounds, that's how these laws get into place. They start out, well, we want to catch terrorists. The NSA just came out and said that they only caught in this whole wiretapping, snooping, everything like that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But I'm going to give you a little bit of it. They said there was actually only two actual terrorist attacks that they actually thwarted, and that's questionable. We'll talk. But you work for a company, and they do something that's questionable. Now, you can sit back and allow it to happen. Well, by you sitting back, by not saying anything, you allow it to happen. You allow it to happen. You're part of it. You're culpable. You're part of the issue. I didn't want to be part of that. So I changed career paths. Well, I didn't change career. I got out of that industry because I didn't want to be part of that. I studied enough about, Germany, Nazi Germany. I know how that ended. Obviously, it didn't end well for the Germans, but during the time it didn't end well for the Jews either. And it didn't end well for the for the mental patients. It didn't end well for the gays. It didn't end well for anybody that didn't subscribe to their fascism. It didn't end well. It didn't bode well. And I saw that. And I saw that technology, a lot of people don't know this. IBM, International Business Machine, they perfected the database for the Nazis so that they can use that to manage. I will tell you, the reason why we know how many Jews were slaughtered in World War II is because of IBM. Believe it or not. Punch cards, all that all came about through the Holocaust and able to track and manage people. That's how we know how many Jews were slaughtered. That's how we know like where the artwork is, and that's how they can go and recover it. Because these databases, believe it or not, they had databases back. They weren't computerized, they were paper, but they were still databases, filing system. So you don't have to, study history long to realize that when you start correlating and pulling this data together and stuff, and then when you get people in there with, evil intentions, it's only a matter of time before it's used against you. And we've said this all along. It's only a matter of time. We talked about this yesterday. Talk about handguns. Today's Munitions Monday. When you buy a handgun, you have to fill out what they call 4473. That's the federal form. And depending on your state, you might have a state form as well. It's a handgun. One of the questions they ask you is, do you use marijuana? Right? And I caution people with this. You people that are in Colorado that think, oh yeah, we passed a law. They are tracking you. So when you go and buy your marijuana in Colorado, show your driver's license. You don't think that's not going in a database, and you don't think eventually if they're not already doing it, if some legislature's like, well, wait a minute, they're asked that question in the 4473, and we see this person buying marijuana, he's and when he buys it, he can't be buying it for someone else. He's got to be buying it for himself. Marijuana, that excludes you from owning a handgun or owning any kind of weapon. Once again, a database. And it's going to be a database. It's not some individual who's going to correlate that information. It's going to be a database, a software. A software is going to print it out and say, XYZ person bought marijuana. XYZ has a handgun 4473. Local sheriff, you need to go pick it up. It's only a matter of time, my friends. You're talking about Colorado, the same state that passed gun laws or tried to. Well, they did. And then they got some of their senators were reelected. Or recalled, not reelected. So what I'm telling you is that databases are evil. They are. But going back to my culpability, when you become complacent and you're part of an industry that promotes lawlessness, that promotes humiliation and degradation of the American human spirit, when you're part of that and you continue to allow it and you continue to pay your dues to unions that support and protect these individuals, you're part of the problem. So I'm going to step away from the political correctness here and say, I have friends who are law enforcement. I really do. I really do. And I'm sorry that you're part, instead of saying, I don't believe you're all like this. I'm going to say this. I am sorry that you're part of an industry who now treats the people that they were there to protect and to serve as cattle. We're seeing it time and time again. And today, a lot of people will say, well, the legal system was right. These guys were acquitted. I don't care. I watched the videos. And what I'm talking about is there was 2 officers who today were acquitted in the death of a gentleman, is Kevin, we'll say Thomas. Yeah. His name was Thomas. Kevin, I want to say Kevin Thomas. Got to get his name right. I'm sure, It's sad. When you watch these videos, I don't know how a jury, Kelly Thomas. I don't know how a jury can look at these tapes and feel that there's not an injustice there. Now, granted, do we not hold in our culture those at a disadvantage? Do we not treat them differently? This is a gentleman who has a history of schizophrenia. This is a gentleman who has a history, a violence history. Don't get me wrong. The mental industry, the government failed this individual with his mental health issues. But these police officers on the tape provoked him. Now, granted, if I walked up to a police officer and I had my gloves on and I told a police officer I was going to knock his teeth in, if I said that to a police officer, I deserve to get tased. I really do. You just don't do it. You don't antagonize a guy with a gun like that. Sorry. It just doesn't, it goes against common sense. But for a police officer to do it to you, for a police officer to, this gentleman had a history of mental health issues. For them to take it to that level, I understand that the right or police officers need to apprehend someone, but to beat them so severely that they kill him, that's unacceptable to me. That's way excessive force. They didn't shoot the gentleman. They didn't shoot him in self-defense. They beat him. They beat him to death. They beat him. They didn't restrain him to death. They didn't restrain him, and then he died under restraints. They beat him to death. And now the problem is this. We have a precedent in this country. This case sets a precedent that law enforcement can use whatever force that they deem necessary to bring you to justice. And that's wrong. That's wrong. They tell us all the time, if you sit there and you pick a fight with me and I strike back, we're both going to go to jail under the current legal system. But so why does law enforcement get away with it? Why do they get a pass? Why do they? And the fact that, like I said, there's circumstances here that are, you were dealing with an individual who was not, and they provoked, they escalated. And, they might have been acquitted, but their superiors, the individuals, the organizations, the law enforcement organizations that they work for, deemed that they violated policy, and they terminated them. They didn't put them on administrative leave through this. They actually terminated them. They actually filed the charges against them. Now, granted, a jury acquitted them, and you can be acquitted of a crime. That doesn't make you innocent. Doesn't make you innocent. It just means that they didn't, they didn't prove their case. Think of the other case not too long ago that just happened. Mother kills child. We all know she's guilty, but they didn't prove the case. They claim self-defense. And, you watch the videos, and I don't know how in wretched horror you watch these videos. There's no reason for it. Any sensible man, any sensible person, I understand the police officers were enraged. How dare you? But that's that mentality. That's that industry. How dare you? I'm an officer. You do what I tell you to do. You lick my boots, boy. That mentality. And we're hearing it more and more in this country. We're seeing it more and more in this country. It's got to stop. I pray for this family. I pray for all the victims. Right now in America, there's someone who's being abused by a police officer. That's sad, isn't it? That's what we become. Us versus them. Now, like I said, I'm going to tell you flat out, I'm going to protect myself. I'll be the first one to tell you, if I break the law, call me and I will present myself to the legal system. But if you come kicking through my door, I'm fighting back. I am. That's just the way it rolls. You know, because I'm not going to put my life in your hands. Ain't going to do it. Ain't going to happen. You know, if you got an issue with me, Mr. Policeman, if I broke some law, I'm a patriot. You call me. I will present myself to the courts and I will face whatever consequences and I will fight myself. But if you come kicking in my door, you try to restrain me, you try to violate my constitutional rights as an American, as a free American, you got a fight on your hands and I will fight you. You know, I will fight you. And it goes back to this, is that I no longer give you the benefit of the doubt. Nope. Not when I see you beat a man to death. Not when I see you beat a woman and smash a 70-year-old woman's face into the ground. Not when I see you take a mother and smash her face into the ground. I'm not going to give you that opportunity to bring harm upon me, my person, or my family. It ain't going to happen. So you better have a good reason. I'm just giving you the fair, honest to God warning up front. You better have a reason. And by the way, when you come to my house, you better bring one of those MRADs that you purchased from this government, part of your military industrial complex, because you're going to need it. I'm just telling you. You know, I don't know what it takes, America, for you to wake up, for you to see, for you, you know, I don't know what else you got to see. You know, before you start waking up and realizing that we are under the boots of a tyrannical government. We are under the boots of a government that has no sense of law. None. Not one bit. It is all about them. It is all about them getting reelected. It's all about them becoming millionaires. It's us versus them. We need to wake up, America. They're laughing at us. They really are. As you sit there and we complain and we do this, what they do is they pump poisonous media through your veins in form of TV and stuff. They know darn well they have psychiatrists. They have individuals who are a lot smarter, who've been doing this, who perfected the craft under Nazi Germany. That's right. A lot of these programs were actually created under the Nazis. They, you know, and it's continued on to this day. This mind control. They know darn well you'll get enraged about this, but the minute they show, you know, so-and-so stripped or so-and-so did this or, you know, the Golden Globe, someone said a cuss word or that or whatever, you'll go back to your days. You will. They know that. Wake up, America. Because today, it might not be you. It might be Kelly Thomas. But I promise you, tomorrow, it will be you. It will be you. And for all of those out there who serve and protect this country, I'm just going to tell you, you need to start, I'm going to hold you in the same regard as I hold Muslims. And I'm sorry, but, the day that I start seeing Muslims protest in the streets because they killed an innocent person or because they beheaded an innocent person or that they raped an innocent person or that they stoned an innocent person, when I start seeing that, then I will start believing that the Muslims are a religion of peace. Until I start seeing your unions, and when I start seeing you as law enforcement officers turning and doing the right thing and actually protecting the citizens, your neighbors, your friends, your fellow community members, when I start seeing that, then I'll start holding you back in that regard that I used to hold you to. But not anymore. I'm sorry. I know it's going to cost me business. I know there's going to be recourse for what I just said, but you know what? I'm a patriot, and I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. You need to start doing what's right. I have to. Tim has to. Joe has to. Sue has to. Stone has to. JJ has to. All of us fellow patriots have to. It's now time. It's not us and them. If you want it to be us and them, guess what? There's a lot more us than there are them. If that's what you want, you'll lose that fight. I don't care how many MRADs you have. I don't care who you think you got supporting you. There are more of us than there are of them. It took 3% to overturn and to overpower and to take this country back from a king. Only 3%. And I can tell you, there's a lot more 3%ers I know of than there are of you. Disgusting. Disgusting. My prayers go out to the family of Kelly Thomas. They go out to the family of Kelly Thomas. Now, as we kind of wind down the night, I just wanted to share that with you. We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, I'm going to talk about what Google's doing. We're going to also talk about the IRS, the lawlessness, of this government. What else is new? As we just talked about. But you're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join me live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time, or on the web 24/7 at www.patriotfb.com. That's patriotfb.com. Not only listen to the Midnight Patriot show from 9 to midnight every night, but you can also listen to AVN with Michael from 8 till 10. Now, tomorrow he's probably sick, so it's probably going to be a replay. And JJ McCarty. JJ is going to have a very special guest tomorrow. Stay tuned. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But when we get back from the break, we'll cover some Google news and some more IRS scandal.
Out of control spending. A government that no longer works for the people. Had enough? Then vote for Stone Anthony for president. Replace politicians with a citizen statesman. www.stoneanthony2016.com.
America, welcome home the brave. The brave men and women who serve their country are coming home. Home to their cities and towns. Home to their mountains and valleys. Home to their families and friends. Home to America. Some of these warriors are coming home with wounds you can see, and some with wounds you can't see, like post-traumatic stress disorder. Wounded Warrior Project was created to provide the support these wounded veterans need to ensure their return to America is well-adjusted and successful. But we need your help to ensure that our mission is a success. Help us honor and empower these wounded warriors. Contact us at findwwp.org. America, welcome home the brave.
In a moment, cancer changed our lives forever.
We were told nothing could be done to enjoy these final moments together.
But in that moment, when all seemed lost,
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital gave us hope.
Because at this moment, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is saving lives with pioneering research and care. We're changing the way the world treats childhood cancer by sharing our discoveries with doctors and scientists everywhere.
And we'll never have to pay St. Jude for anything, ever.
At this moment, she wants to be in her own bed.
I want to be back at school with my friends.
I want to be outside playing.
Please take a moment and join St. Jude in finding cures and saving children.
You're listening to the Midnight Patriot radio show and podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Norton. You can join us live every Monday through Friday from 9 p.m. till 12 a.m. Central Standard Time, or on the web at www.patriotfb.com. The Midnight Patriot website that you used to go to actually redirects you. We felt that we're going to consolidate a little bit, make life a little bit easier for me instead of having to manage a couple websites. And to be honest with you, I just want to let you guys know, Patriot FB last month, 1.4 million hits, over 1 million page views. Unbelievably successful. We're on track to do that again this year. This year, January. and everything. So, good times. I just want to say thank you for your support. When we're not playing shows during the day, we do play classic country, classic rock, and modern country. I highly recommend it. You take a look at it. We're not part of it is a streaming service, but it runs under port 80. So more than likely, now I'm not telling you, check with your company policy, but our stream's no different than a website. It doesn't run on a special port or anything. So take a look, take a gander. Let us know if there's any music you'd like for us to play. Send us a CD. We'll get it in our archives, and we'll get it out there and get it played for you. This is kind of a community-based setup here. Right now, all the music basically is provided by myself and JJ, but we are adding more and more every day. I just got a phone call actually this morning where they're going to be sending a listener's going to be sending some CDs over. So we appreciate that and everything that you're doing. Now, getting back to, I alluded to this a little bit earlier, and this all goes back to Agenda 21. We talk about the smart meter, and the Agenda 21, which is happened out of Brazil. It was the United Nations came together, and they basically are building a rules in which all of us in the world have to live by. Now, granted, if I wanted to live in Europe and by European rules, I'd go to Europe. I live in America. This is the land of the free, home of the brave. This is, where I was born. This is where I'm going to die. And I don't want to live under European rules. I don't want to live under their fascism, their socialistic ideas. I want to live as an American, as a free person, as a free man. That's what I want to live as. But Agenda 21, here you go. It's only a matter of time. And now the feds are starting to put software out there that will actually monitor your home's energy usage. That's right. They're going to monitor, they're looking at proposing software so they can see if you're using more energy than anybody else. Now, a lot of people say, well, what's the harm in that? The harm in that is they're going to start taxing you based upon your energy usage. Now, you get a use tax anyways because you pay a percentage based upon your bill. But they're going to come to you and say, well, you're using this or you're using that or you're using too much energy. You're using too much energy. But I promise you, the plasma TVs, the media mind software, mind control software, you're going to get a waiver for that. As long as they're pumping that media into you, you're going to get a waiver for that. The other thing too is a lot of people don't realize this. They can control electronic devices through your electrical outlets. You didn't know that, did you? Yeah, they can. They can turn things off and on. So if they feel that you're using too much energy, who's to say they don't turn off your computers? Say they don't want you to do a podcast. Who's to say they can't turn off my computer once they put these smart meters in? That's right. You don't contribute, they flip off your power. It's only a matter of time. Now, once again, we talk about Facebook. Facebook was created out of the NSA and the CIA, guys. If you look at the early investors in Facebook, because at the time, now the government spies on everything you do, but at the time it was illegal, it was immoral for the government to be spying on its citizenry. So Facebook came along and they said, well, we don't have to spy on them. You're just going to give us the information by putting it all out on Facebook. That's exactly what's happened. They don't need to corral all of this data through the NSA. The only reason why the NSA is still around is because of the bureaucracies and the amount of money that corporations are making off of it. There's no real use for it. They've already said, even the NSA, there was a report that the NSA came out with today. No discernible impact on terrorism. That's right. Even the NSA is saying there's no discernible impact. Terrorists are going to be, newsflash, terrorists are going to be terrorists. They're going to blow themselves up. They're going to still do, there isn't any. The reason why the NSA is around is because the billions and trillions of dollars that have been pumped into it and all of these corporations. All of these corporations that are making money off of this. That's the only reason. If they wanted to hunt a terrorist, they can go on Facebook, MySpace, or any of those social media sites. They go camelnews.com. I don't know. Make a joke. That's wrong. But you see what I'm saying? They don't have to. I mean, we know who the terrorists are. That's like saying, well, we got to have an anti-drug. You know who the drug dealers are. Go arrest them. You know who they are. I can go to any law enforcement officer in any community and I say, tell me your drug dealers. Tell me where they live. Tell me what cars they get. And they give you a whole list. They can. Now, they didn't get that because of NSA wiretapping, snooping. They just know. They know who the players are. They know who the actors are in this game. They all have roles to play. See, the problem is the reason why most sheriffs don't clean up the streets, is because they need a certain amount of criminal activity to perpetuate their budgets. There's a thing in state budgets and county budgets. You don't spend it, you lose it. So they need an MRAD now. They do. They need an MRAD to go to Jeff Norton's house. You know, see how it works? It's going to be helicopters. It's going to be drones. It's going to be whatever. But going back to the Facebook thing, we give so much information. That's why we have Patriot FB. I can tell you that site is not shared with the government. The data is encrypted. The day that the government knocks on my door and asks for a warrant, you're going to see Jeff Norton in the news going to jail because I ain't going to give it to him. I will be held in contempt. Oh, and by the way, I just want to let you know, this government now locks people up for First Amendment rights. That's right. That's right. There's a gentleman who is now spending time in jail for speaking his First Amendment rights because the judge, what they do, see, if they can't hold you on a legal basis, they get you for contempt. The judge will say, well, you can't say anything. You can't talk about this. You can't talk about this. And so if you go out and execute your First Amendment rights and you do it, then the judge will hold you in contempt. And then with contempt, they can hold you for an indefinite amount of time. And under the terrorism laws and stuff, they can hold you wherever. They don't have to give you a trial. They don't have to do nothing. If they deem you an enemy combatant. And oh, by the way, enemy combatant is so broad and wide that I'm an enemy combatant right now because I'm speaking out against this government. You know, it's sad. But getting back to, we gave up all the information. Well, guess what? Now, you guys are saying, well, I'm, not going to give up the smart meter. That's crazy. Did you guys go out and buy a Nest, N-E-S-T? They're selling them at Home Depot, Lowe's, all that. These are these energy systems. So you can control, and you can become green. You can become green. Well, guess who just bought them? Google. Oh, by the way, did you know that Google is fast becoming the largest defense contractor in the United States? Did you not know that? Yeah. So as you buy these products and these services, as you search the web using Google browser, using Chrome, using all that, we talked about that earlier, you're just giving that information to the government. You're giving it to them. You're giving it to them. Just want to let you know. I think you have the right to know. We talk about this. This is, I don't put it by this administration. I really don't. We talked about this. Rodney talked about it Conover last year when we were on the show. Today, here you go. Obamacare bailout plan for insurance companies. There you go. It was all by design, people. It really was. And you know how I know it was by design? Let me tell you why. You have veterans. I watched a show last night. It just made my stomach turn. It was on. It was called Independent Lens. It's an independent documentaries, and they were talking about the rape of service women in the United States military. It made me just sick to my stomach to know this and the things that they talked about. But what also made me sick was the fact that they had an individual who a female soldier who was beat by her rapist to the point that her jaw was misaligned, and because of that, there was bone issues. They refused to get her help, and now she has nerve damage. She was going to get through the VA system to get evaluated. It took her case, regardless of, travesty. I'm going to tell you this. If you're a service member and you're culpable to a rape, you're a bastard. I know I have service members that listen. You don't deserve to be wearing that uniform that you put on. I'm not going to apologize for that statement either. That is something that just, I hold service people to the highest regard. To the highest regard. I really do. And so for me to come out and make that statement, after watching this video, watching this independent documentary, and what these women had to go through, and believe it or not, there's men that go through it too. After watching that, it made me sick to my stomach. I still hold the armed services in such high regard, though. But I will tell you this: if you're, like the law enforcement, if you're culpable of that, you're a disgrace to that uniform. You really are. But that's another topic for another day. What I want to talk to you today about is the fact that this young lady has spent over 2 years trying to get, they got her pumped full of drugs for pain. So obviously they're giving her the drugs. So obviously they realize there's a problem. But 2 years for her to get the money or to get the VA to have the surgery. 2 years. Now you're saying, what does that have to do with Obamacare? And this whole bailout. If it takes a soldier 2 years to get the money, and we're not talking a whole lot of money, 20, 30,000, right? 2 years. But yet this administration can fork over billions of dollars to insurance companies almost overnight. The government doesn't move that quickly, my friend. It really doesn't. This was a plan. And the fact that they're doing it shows me that this was a plan from the get-go, from a destabilization. And I'm sure that if you read some document buried in some archive somewhere, this is actually part of the plan. This is part of the plan. Once again, our government, this is that private public business relationship that the Agenda 21 has laid out. This government is doing it to the T. I've said this time again. I haven't said it enough, though. You want to know what this government's doing? If you want to know how they're implementing it, read Sal Alinsky, Rules for Radicals. That's how they're doing it. If you want to know what they're doing, read Agenda 21 out of Brazil. That lays out everything. That's exactly what they're... Oh, by the way, Obamacare was actually mandated for 2014 in Agenda 21. Just want to give you that heads up. That was part of the plan. And this relationship between insurance companies or private and public sectors, that was laid out in Agenda 21. The next business model in the United States is no longer build something, it's build something for the United States or take something for the United States. That's the companies that are making money in this country are the companies that are partnering with this government. Because all the other companies are getting screwed. That's what it's all about. It's all about the votes now. It's all about the votes. You're seeing it every day. It's all about, we don't care that we're eroding this country. It's all about the votes, because we will, if we have enough votes, we can take it away from the middle class and we can buy those votes even more so. Until we wake up and say no more. Until we refuse. Yeah, it's sad that it's come to this, but that's what it's come to. That's what it's come to. So, we talked about it last year. Came true. There's a bailout for the insurance companies.
They're going to be getting, to insure people. They're going to get paid by the government to insure people. And like I said, this is all planned. Don't kid yourself. The government doesn't move that quickly. They don't. This is all by design. Sickening. As we sit here and listen to Christie over now he's being probed because of money that he got approval on. But that's like saying, well, Jeffrey Dahmer said it was okay to have a dinner. Just don't eat the food, right? That's sick. But it's the truth. Because Chris Christie saying, well, the White House said it was okay. That we got approval from the White House. Well, the White House is criminal in themselves. Of course. Christie, you're an idiot. You really are. Not only are you a pompous ass, you're an idiot. You just got set up. Because I promise you, Obama will be, the master deceiver. Oh. I didn't like you anyways, Christie. You're a rhino. You are. We know who you are. You wouldn't have my vote anyways. Now getting back to the IRS. Oh, imagine this. There's a couple things. Number one, there's no criminal probe or no criminal thing against the IRS. They were naive. They didn't know better, but they didn't do anything criminal. As Obama's friends and buddies and everybody got approval, the Tea Party, they got held up. And the memos say, hold them up. There's nothing. They were just naive, but no criminality, none whatsoever. We're cattle, We'll forget all about this because they're going to flip some picture tomorrow of Kim Kardashian's backside or whatever it is. But of course, the IRS. Oh, by the way, the lead investigator for the IRS is a longtime Obama supporter. Imagine that. Oh, the IRS investigator also visited the White House on seven separate occasions. Imagine that. We're not going to get justice in this country, America. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. We can post what we want to on Facebook. We can post what we want to on Patriot.B. Until we take to the streets and say no more, we're not going to participate anymore. Until we take our money out of the banks. Say, nope. We're going to buy gold, silver, food, clothing, shelter. We're not going to put our money in your banks. If 10% of the American people, if the Patriots got together and took all their money out of the banks, that would be a bank run. You would see how quick. We talk about, I'm just telling you this. You talk about marching on Washington, D.C. You want to do something that would bring this country to a standstill, to a halt. Every patriot that hears this, and maybe we ought to start this. Maybe we ought to take our monies out of the bank. Take it out of the investment, out of the stock market. Buy tangible products. That's what the rich are doing. So why don't we do that? You'd bring this economy to a standstill. The banks couldn't cover. They couldn't pay you. You'd get IOUs. You'd get IOUs. Now, talking about, open revolt, tomorrow's show at Conservative Junction Radio, JJ is going to have Colonel Harry Riley. Now, Colonel Harry Riley is the organizer of American Spring. That's right. That's American Spring. Now, that's an organization. I highly recommend that you get plugged into that. Listen to the JJ show tomorrow. But, there's going to be a march on Wall Street. There's going to be a march on Washington, D.C. And I think it's something that we need to, participate in. But like I said, you want to do something now, maybe we ought to put a date together. Let's
let's think about this. Maybe we'll get on Patriot Facebook. We'll start promoting amongst the other shows. And so we're going to call it a national banking holiday or whatever we want to call it. Clean out the trash. Flush the toilet. Let's get a date in which we go to the banks and we take all our money out. That'll send a message. It's your money. No one says you can't put it back in a couple days later. Right? No one says you can't take it to another bank. Start over, reboot. If every patriot in America did that, true patriot in America did that, it would send a message. You'll actually see, you know what? It's kind of like football. You ever watch football? I do watch some football. But you'll see like the quarterback, kind of jump, do his things, and he's seeing how the defense is setting up. If you want to see how, we're on offense now. We're not on defense. We need to be on offense. And if we want to see how they're going to react, we need to start doing these little things. We need to start taking money out of the bank accounts. We need to do it as a group. And you're going to see what this government's going to do. You want to see them, how they move troops and soldiers and FEMA vehicles and stuff. Start doing things. I'm not talking about destructive things, but start doing things. Start organizing militias. Start having 3% meetings. Start doing that, and you're going to start seeing resources start to move all around this country. And like a good quarterback, you need to identify it. And once you identify it, you need to adjust your offense. But let's see what they're going to do. Start watching what FEMA's doing. When you see a FEMA truck, take a picture of it, post it on Patriot FB. Start watching them. When you see a convoy of military vehicles, take a picture and post it, geotag it and post it on Patriot FB. So we can put together a map of movements. Start head faking them. That's what we need to start doing. Now, getting a little long in the tooth. It's getting a little late in the evening. I just want to say thanks for Tim for joining us on Munitions Monday. It was a great day. I think it was a great show. But hey, I'm kind of partial. But before we leave, we need to take care of a little bit of business. We talk about the travesty and the fact that in this country, 2 years it's going to take this young woman. She's been waiting 2 years already. Been waiting 2 years. But we know on average it takes about 354 days for a vet to receive the benefits that they've earned, that they deserve, that this country owes them. 354 days. And what's even more of a travesty is that we have 22 young men and women every day who commit suicide in this country. That's 22 too many. 22 in a day, 22 in a month, 22 in a week, 22 in a year. It's 22 too many. We need to stop. We need to start taking care of those men and women who have put on this nation's uniform. Whatever you got to do, whatever fight you need to take up, that's the fight that I want you to take up. If you only have one fight in you, that's the fight that you need to take up. You need to start defending and start protecting these men and women that put on this nation's uniform. And part of that is that we need to, honor. I'm sure you can tell me who your favorite rock star is, who your favorite, musician is. Can you name me the soldier who died from your hometown? And I'll be honest with you, I can't either. I will find out though tonight after the show. I will. That's where it starts. Start bigger steps. We can't start thinking global. Let's start bigger. Let's start with little steps. Learn the names of the soldiers who have passed away last year in your hometown. Let's start there.
And if you're lucky enough not to have that, then move your perimeter out. Know the names of those soldiers and keep them on your mind. If you have to write them down, do a bracelet, whatever you got to do that and say their name every day that you have a chance. Let's start with that. It's amazing. We can tell you who our sports heroes are. We can tell you whatever. Can't tell you who the soldiers are who paid the ultimate price for you, for our safety and our freedom. Can't tell me the names of your kids' teachers. Scary, isn't it? You might even be able to tell me who your politicians are that's sticking it to you in Washington, D.C. Probably can't. But let's start small and go from there. Let's start with just get the names of the soldiers from your hometown who have paid the ultimate price in the last year or so. But with that, I just want to say, thank you for joining us. We will do our Honor the Fallen tribute, and then we'll wrap up. If we run out of time, I just want to say thank you. God bless you. You will always be on my mind until we talk again tomorrow and everything. Join us at patriotfb.com. That's patriotfb.com. Great shows. AVN in the morning from 8 to 10. JJ McCarty from 2 to 4. Of course, you've got me from 9 until midnight. Also tomorrow, we have Cowboy Logic starts at 8 tomorrow, 8 p.m. We kind of run both shows together. But you can get to them all from patriotfb.com. Army Staff Sergeant, First Class William K. Lacey, January 4th, 2014. Marine Sergeant Jacob M. Hess, January 1st, 2014. Air Force Captain David I. Loyne, December 27th, 2013. Marine Sergeant Daniel M. Lassen, December 23rd, 2013. Army Chief Warrant Officer 2nd, Randy L. Billings, December 17th, 2013. Army Sergeant Peter Buller, December 17th, 2013. Army Staff Sergeant First Class Omar W. Forte, December 17th, 2013. Army Specialist Terry K.D. Gordon, December 17th, 2013. Army Chief Warrant Officer 2nd, Joshua B. Silverman, December 17th, 2013. Army Staff Sergeant Jesse L. Williams, December 17th, 2013. Marine Lance Corporal Matthew R. Rodriguez, December 11th, 2013. Navy Petty Officer First Class James L. Smith, December 11th, 2013.